Right now at 10, NFL Draft Night. We will go live to One Bills Drive, where our sports team is following the latest moves the Bills are making.
And some thunderstorms rolling through western New York. Some of them have been a bit on the stronger side. They're moving off to the east and will clear things out for your Friday. What about the weekend? All of your 4-1 forecast coming up.
And fire crews are investigating a barn fire here in Orchard Park. Why weather may be to blame.
Live in high definition, this is Western New York's news leader. Now, News 4 at 10.
Draft night drags on just a little bit longer for Bills fans as the Bills make a trade. Good evening, everyone. Buffalo was slated to take the 10th pick in this year's draft, but made a trade with the Kansas City Chiefs to trade down. Sports director Josh Reed and Tom Martin join me live with the details from Orchard Park. Hi, guys.
Hey there, it all got started with the Browns taking Myles Garrett #1, as everyone kind of expected. Yes. And then things just got, as you mentioned, the Bills trade from number 10 all the way back to number 27 with the Kansas City Chiefs.
This followed a bunch of moves earlier, but in this deal, the Bills, I think they come out really well. They get a third-round pick in this year's draft plus a first-round pick next year. You'd think the Chiefs will be pretty good, so it may not be in the top 20 or so, but still a first-round pick's a first-round pick. And what it tells me is, yes, you had Marshawn Lattimore right there at 10, your cornerback, but they must like the depth of this draft. And I don't look at this from a bad perspective because Kansas City wanted a quarterback. They were willing to make a trade that may not look good for them to get that quarterback, Pat Mahomes.
Well, and one of the things that we just touched on a little bit is the depth of this draft class. A guy that we talked about a lot extensively was tight end O.J. Howard, and thinking that, you know, if he's there for the Bills at number 10, he would be a good pick. O.J. Howard is still on the board, along with a couple other Alabama guys who could end up being there when the Bills come up to pick at 27.
Yep, Jonathan Allen's still there. He was maybe a top 2 pick. You have Reuben Foster, the linebacker. You're going to see there was this big run on offense early that seemed pretty unexpected. So the Bills read that, identified it, and now you might have a good pick on defense, which seems to be where they want to go later in the first round.
So assuming that the Bills drafted 27 and there's no more trades,
Never know.
We'll have an update for you coming up later on tonight. Keep in mind, coming up on Sunday, it's the Jim's Stakeout News 4 Sports Draft Wrap Show. That's at 10:30 on CW23 and then at 11:30 over on Channel 4. Nalina, back to you.
All right, guys, thank you. And we will have much more draft coverage coming up in sports throughout our entire show all night long. Make sure you follow Josh, Tom, and News 4 on Twitter for the latest draft updates. Now to a developing story we are following new at 10 from Orchard Park. People sent us a lot of pictures of this massive barn fire, and we immediately went to the scene to find out how it started. News 4's Rachel Monjovi joins me live near the scene with the latest details tonight. Rachel?
Yeah, Nalina, fire are still on the scene here in Orchard Park. They're investigating a barn fire that happened just around 6:30 this evening. I'm told it was fully engulfed. Again, you can see there are still crews on the scene here. I'm told there were no people or animals inside the barn, and no one was injured in this fire. Investigators are still searching for the cause, but a couple of witnesses say they saw the barn get struck by lightning. So fire crews believe that may be what started the fire. Authorities are unsure about the contents inside the barn, but they mentioned there were some tanks of fuel outside the barn, so they had to move some of the people out of the area because of that for safety reasons. Now, this barn, I'm told, has been the center of a dispute with the neighborhood for years. Neighbors tell me it's been an eyesore. It was old and dilapidated, and people have been pushing to get the barn knocked down. Police say they've received a lot of complaints about the building, but it doesn't seem that the fire is suspicious.
We have 2 witnesses possibly saying that lightning struck the barn, and we're trying to confirm that at this time. And we also have a fire investigator that's working on the scene right now to determine if that's verified with the lightning that we have reports of.
Shook it. I saw a big heap of smoke come up, and just from my house, it was blazing. Like the flames were past like the pine trees. The smoke was like literally just covering the air, and eventually it was going down, and half the barn just fell over.
Officials tell me that they started knocking some of the barn down. They are bringing an excavator in to continue demolishing the barn so that the fire doesn't reignite. Of course, the weather conditions earlier didn't help the fire at all. It was raining pretty heavily, but the fire is out right now. And I've just been told that there is a water main break in this area. That's why crews are still on the scene. So the Erie County Water Authority may have to shut some people's water off tonight. We will have the latest details on that as soon as we get them. For now, reporting live in Orchard Park tonight, Rachel Monjovi, News 4 at 10.
We are in the midst of the worst drug overdose epidemic in American history.
Community leaders are focusing their attention on the opioid epidemic across Western New York. City and county leaders are joining forces, announcing more than $200 million in funding to help fight drug addiction across the state. Erie County alone will receive $16 million. Now, the money will go towards things like treatment beds, housing units, outpatient services, and education programs. Leaders say between 2010 and 2015, Erie County saw a 256% increase in drug-related deaths, the highest increase statewide. They're hoping the funds will save lives.
They go through a detox facility inpatient. Their highest risk is when they walk out of that facility. They may be clean at that moment, but their highest risk is when they walk out the doors, and if they should have a relapse, it could kill them at that moment.
Just last month, 7 people died from an overdose in Erie County in a 24-hour span. In Syracuse, a 12-month-long investigation into drug trafficking led to dozens of people facing criminal charges. The investigation, dubbed Operation Bricktown, was a joint investigation by Syracuse Police and the New York State Attorney General's office. A total of 52 people were arrested today and yesterday from all across the state and even crossing borders. The Bricktown gang is among Syracuse's most notorious criminal organizations.
They have terrorized the south side of Syracuse for more than a decade. Today, we take a big bite out of that sort of terrorist activity.
Throughout this investigation, authorities obtained more than 1,000 envelopes of heroin, 2 kilos of cocaine, and several guns.
We're very proud to live in a state that takes the security of all of its residents very seriously and is doing everything that it can to protect us.
State leaders are putting more money into solving hate crimes. $25 million in this year's budget will go towards security upgrades for at-risk facilities. The funding will help protect members of the Jewish, Muslim, and LGBTQ communities and others who may be targets of vicious acts. The announcement was made today by New York Assemblyman Sean Ryan. From January to March of this year, dozens of threatening phone calls were made to Jewish community centers, schools, and daycares across the state and here in Western New York.
With this $25 million, the community centers can provide better security for themselves and to be safe in the event of either threats or physical attacks.
The Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services will create rules and criteria for organizations who want to compete for this money. We expect to learn more about those rules in the next month or so. Trying to unite people around their business, what the airline is changing, and how much more people could be paid for getting bumped off a flight.